Welcome back to Torah in 10. I'm so happy to be here with you again. What's the life-changing idea Rabbi Sacks teaches us this week? When you experience suffering, the question to ask is, given that this has happened, what then shall I do? For this has an answer not of thought, but of deed. The parsha begins with the words, command the Israelites to bring you clear olive oil crushed for the light, so that the lamp will always burn. The sages describe a comparison between an olive and the Jewish people. We're obsessed with food, right? The Torah tells us Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi asked why Israel is compared to an olive. Just as an olive is first bitter and then sweet, so Israel suffers in the present, but the great good is stored up for them in time to come. And just as an olive only yields its oil by being crushed, as it is written, clear olive oil crushed for the light, so Israel fulfills its potential in the Torah only when it's pressed by suffering. In other words, to produce light, to bring out our potential, something has to be crushed. And here we find a life-changing lesson. We're about to celebrate the joyous holiday of Purim. How timely. One of the classic messages of Purim is to reveal what's hidden. In the miracle of Purim, we're talking about revealing God in our lives. But there is a deeper truth still. In the story of Purim, the Jews were facing complete destruction. Literally in one day, Haman planned to wipe us off the face of the earth. Our lives were totally at risk. That's a lot of pressure for sure. And what came from that? The Jewish people came together. We fasted, we prayed, we connected to Hashem. And Esther, before risking her life by going to King Ahasuerus, she also fasted and prayed for success. At that time, Esther, Mordecai, and the Jewish people were pushed up against a wall. And we all know the end of the story. The Jewish people were saved. It was a miracle. And all little girls and little boys will be dressing up as Mordecai and Queen Esther forever for their incredible acts of courage. From the darkness came tremendous light. That's Purim in a nutshell. And it's the same message of the pure oil used for lighting the menorah. Hidden deep in the oil, its potential that only through pressure is it revealed. Now, this is a difficult idea, but has the possibility of being life-changing for us. Suffering is bad. Judaism makes no attempt to hide from this fact. When we go through suffering, or when we see someone close to us suffering, we can feel a sense of hopelessness. Then what should we do with our suffering? Rabbi Sacks teaches us, be like the olive. When crushed, let something good come from it. For me, there is no greater example than from Racheli Frankel. Remember in 2014 when her son Naftali, along with two other boys, were kidnapped and murdered by terrorists? I cannot think of a bigger nightmare than losing a child this way. The whole Jewish world watched as these holy women, as these parents pleaded for all of us to pray and do acts of kindness for their safe return. We all know the tragic end of this story. As long as I live, I will never forget the words of Racheli Frankel. In the midst of her nightmare, during those 18 days when we didn't know if the boys were alive or dead, she was approached by some children at the kotel. They ran up to her and they said, Mrs. Frankel, we're praying, we're learning, we're doing acts of kindness so that the boys should be returned safe. Racheli's words are etched into my heart and into my soul. She said, children, please God, we should hear good news. But if we don't, promise me that you will never think that your prayers and acts of kindness were done in vain. Can you imagine saying these words in the midst of such pain and agony? Where does someone get the strength to say these words? I will never forget the incredible Jewish unity that we saw across the whole world of Jews coming together from all backgrounds for the sake of the safe return of the boys. Racheli Frankel and the two other mothers who lost their sons in 2014 responded to this tragedy with action. They created a foundation of unity to continue the legacy of what we saw and what we felt during those 18 days. These women are not superheroes, but they displayed superhero strength. In Judaism, where do we get superhero strength? From our faith. Only faith, knowing that the things that we go through are not random, can we develop the strength to withstand the challenges we go through. There are so many examples of people who, when crushed, they radiate light. They do something. They took action as a result of the challenges they faced. I have seen countless examples in my own life. There are too many to share, but there are enough examples to know that this is the truth. The idea of the pure olive oil used for the menorah is such a deep lesson for us. The process is stunning. An olive is crushed in order to produce pure olive oil to be used in the menorah, first in the sanctuary, but ultimately in the temple, whose purpose was to bring light into the world, to radiate God's goodness and presence in the world. There is no oil if olives are not squeezed, no wine if grapes are not pressed, no perfume if flowers are not crushed. Have you felt pressure in your life today? Don't worry, God is just bringing out the best in you too. Rabbi Sacks teaches us when bad things happen to good people, our faith is challenged. This is a natural response. But in the end, the wrong question to ask is, why did this happen? We will never know. We're not God, and we shouldn't try to be. The question is, given that this has happened, what then shall I do? The answer is not a thought, but an action. Our job is to bring light into dark places of our lives and into the lives of others. This is no easy task. It takes time. It takes a supreme act of faith. Yet, it is precisely here that we feel faith's power to change our lives and the lives of others. Rabbi Sacks teaches us great faith can turn pain into love and holy light. And that is a life-changing idea we can all use. Thank you so much, and Chag Sameach. Happy Purim, everybody.